Welcome to the Ronline Report. My special guest today was my partner in coverage this past weekend in Las Vegas for Olympia, all the way from the United Kingdom, Giles Tiger Thomas, co-star of the Tiger and Rascal show, which you guys should all be checking out on YouTube.
Hey, Ross.
What's up, Giles? First off, we've had a couple days to digest the Olympia. What are your thoughts now that we've had a couple days for things to settle down and think about what happened?
Well, I mean, not to be too negative, but I think the IFBB missed an opportunity to mark down the guys for their stomachs. I think they should have put Phil down to maybe third and Roden down to 8th or 9th, and I think it would have created a real excitement for next year. It would have made them come back with flatter stomachs. Rowley did it. Rowley listened when he had it in 2013, so he fixed it. But I think, I'm just worried now that some of the guys are just going to think, oh, well, it doesn't matter, and just not basically not look after that problem,
Well, you bring up a good point. Like, why was Rowley penalized for it a couple of years ago? And this year, Roden wasn't. Clearly, Keith wasn't. That type of inconsistency kind of gets people confused and I think a little frustrated at times. So, I don't know what's good. Now, a lot of people had Romney winning. Do you still hear a lot of that or even more of that now?
What's that, sorry?
Romney. A lot of people thought Romney should have won. Do you still feel that way?
I would have had no argument, honestly. Like I said, I've never been a huge Romney fan. For years, I just kind of thought he was overrated. I didn't really like his shape. But this year, you can't argue with someone that comes back improved every single year. I mean, I know Steve said he thought Romney looked better last year, but to me, he's kept that waist nice and tight. He's bringing up, his legs are more conditioned now. He's bringing up his hamstrings, his glutes, his calves. That guy is improving, and you've got to hand it to those guys. The guys that just keep coming back better and better. And he's not just getting bigger; he's actually coming in smaller every year. Like they said, he's coming in really light this year at 305 pounds.
Yeah.
And you just think, wow, I mean, I've seen to be honest, he's more impressive in the photos as well. I've seen a load of photographs, and I am really like that rear double bicep, his side chest, his side tricep. Those are really good shots.
Yeah.
And he is moving up fast.
Now, I remember you saying in one of our recap that we did at the very end of the show that night, that had Bonac won, not too many people would have complained. You really think that could have been pulled off without a riot on our hands?
I don't think anyone would have argued, because Bonac was actually second on the. I saw Neil Hill on the way out of the hotel when I was leaving on Sunday morning, and I said, Neil, you do know that Bonac was in second place? And he says, yeah, I know. He says, I'm just really. He said, I am happy, but I'm kind of disappointed he didn't get second. But he just. There's another guy. I mean, every year, no one gives that guy any respect before the show. No one, there was people on the board, on the MD board, they wouldn't even have him in the top 10.
Right.
So it was like, come on, what does this guy have to do to prove himself? He was 15th, then he was 8th, then he was 5th, and he should have been higher. And this year he got 3rd. I mean, what more does that guy need to do to prove himself? Because they keep saying, no, he's like Phil, he's maxed out. He's too short. He can't get any bigger. He's not. It's nothing he can do with his frame now without blowing out his proportions, and he proves everyone wrong every single year. And I've got so much respect for him, and I'm so happy because I put him in my. I said this in the round. I'm patting myself on the back here, but I put him in my MD column 3 times back in 2010, 2011, and 2012, and I was really raving about this guy because a guy called Robbie Lieven. He was like one of my contacts over in Holland, and he said, look, there's this guy, I know you got all the hype is around Rowley, because when Rowley was in Rotterdam, but there's a guy across town in Rotterdam, and his name's William Bonac. He says, I'm telling you, Giles, this guy is awesome. And then obviously, the rest is history. So I'm so proud of him, and I'm kind of hoping he wins the Arnold Europe so I can just get to interview him, just so I can really do a good interview, So I can't wait.
Do you think a part of that issue with him is that he doesn't have a lot of hype behind him the way, Rami has that whole Team Oxygen gym machine pumping him up all the time, and he's got a big fan base. And Heath, obviously, he's promoting himself on social media constantly. I don't see much at all from Bonac, and he's like Dorian used to be, just lay low and show up looking amazing.
Yeah.
But it seems like these days, that's not enough.
Well, Bonac is actually, he's doing quite a lot of video. He is doing a lot of video content. I saw a really good video on Instagram the other day, and it was really professional. He's working with a friend of mine from UK called Rebecca Andrews, and she's done loads of video with him. But I do agree, unfortunately, when the guys are in Europe, they really need to be more forthright. You know, I mean, obviously in Q8, they've got the whole team behind them. They've got video crews. They're on top of it. They're on the social media constantly. But Bonac, he's kind of like a very private person. He kind of reminds me like Branch Warren type. You know, he kind of likes keeping himself to himself. He's very family orientated. I kind of respect that, but I kind of like the way that he kind of then just shows up, and no one really counts him into the show as a viable threat. And he's just every single year he's done it. He's moved up and up and up and up, and I love the guy. I'm a huge fan.
You had messaged me and told me that Lex Lewis contacted you last night and wanted your thoughts on his showing and so on. So what was that conversation like?
Yeah, I was stood by the frozen chickens in the supermarket last night, and I all of a sudden heard this yo on the phone. Obviously, text came through, and I said, "Hi, Flex, how you doing?" He says, "So, what did you think?" And I said, "Well, to be honest, mate, I had you 8th place."
What did you say?
I said, "You 8th place." I said, "You too." Yeah, I said I had you 8th place. I said possibly too handsome. So it's kind of obviously that's the Welsh humour maybe, I don't know, but I said no, seriously, and I gave him a full I gave him a full rundown, and then he started asking about what did you think about the 212, what do you think about the Open, and I just told him straight, and I pretty much said what I said in the MD wrap-ups, but I said to him, I said you were incredibly shredded, I said, but your waist was tiny. I said, did you come in flat deliberately on the Saturday? No, sorry, the Friday for the pre-judging. Did you come in deliberately flat to bring your waist in? He says, no. He says, I occasionally have stomach problems. He said, it's been an on and off problem for years. And I said, is it food allergies? And he says, no, it's something to do with that. He says, sometimes I can just eat one meal too much or something that doesn't agree with me. He says, and that's it. My body kind of, and I didn't really fill out, because when he was hitting those back shots, you could see when he was flexing his glutes like that. I mean, he was so shredded, and I could see that he was flat. So he was actually more ripped than he was, if you see what I mean. Because if he'd have been full, everything would have been absolutely insane on him. And on the Saturday again, he didn't really kind of look full. He was still obviously the best up there, without sounding biased. I mean, I don't know whether that's biased, but. Yeah, he was, and he just kind of, he agreed. He says, well, thanks. He says, you're one of the few people that's actually been honest enough to tell me. And I said, I also had Jose second. I said, I thought Jose looked sensational. I think Ashkenani looks marginally better the year before. Yeah. And then we just talked about the Open, and I mentioned about Phil. I said, I don't think he's really helping himself right now. And obviously Flex couldn't really answer because he's good friends with Phil. But he kind of, he didn't sort of, he listened to my comments, but he didn't really reply too much to them. And I said, well, look, this is in Phil's interest to, I said he's kind of alienating a lot of the fans with his persona, which I don't think he needs to put on. But anyway, so that was the crux of our conversation anyway. So, and then I got thrown out the supermarket.
We don't want to make this all about Flex, but I have to wonder, and give me your opinion on this. Do you think the fact that he's really not at 212 anymore, I think he's really struggling more and more every year to get down to the weight. And do you think that's an issue why he has trouble with his fullness now?
Well, I'll tell you this. I did an interview with Neil Hill for another magazine back in 2014. And this kind of question was what I put to Neil. And Neil said, well, having that said, Giles, he says, I will tell you now, this was in 2014, and he was, he's kind of not really changed a huge amount since then. He said, whatever you've heard, whatever you've read, Lex Lewis has never stepped on stage more than 208 pounds.
Wow.
I was like, okay, yeah. And he said the only time he's been close to the 212 limit in that point of time was at the Korea, he says, because he always seems to have a little less pressure for the Korean, and he always fills out, and he always every single time when he does the Olympia, he always looks more sensational at the Olympia. Maybe the nerves, maybe the how busy they are at the Olympia, maybe he does end up with stomach problems, which prevents him from filling out. So that was 2 or 3 years ago, but now Flex really is struggling, and Niels had said to me loads of times, he says, Giles, the best version I have ever seen of Lex Lewis is at 225 pounds. He says, I'm telling you, Giles, he says, I said, doesn't his waist go thick? He says, no, he says his waist looks smaller because everything else kind of fills out. His shoulders fills out, his back fills out. Right. And he said, it's almost disappointing when I see him at 212. He said, because I'm telling you, he says his best weight is around 225. Now that was 2 or 3 years ago. So what would he look at? What would he? I mean, would it be any different now? He's probably more refined, so he'd probably look even more impressive at 225, maybe 230. I don't know. I mean, Bonac has proven. I mean, Bonac was a 212 back in 2012, and he really struggled. But when he moved up, no one thought he'd be good enough to be an Open. But look at him; he's proved everyone wrong. So, and Neil works with Bonac as well. So imagine what he could do with Flex.
Well, you know, I'm always disappointed the last couple of years to see Flex at the Olympia, because when I look at the social media, you know, he puts up little videos and pictures of him at somewhere between 225, 230. He's phenomenal, just so full, so round, and the condition's still there. But then we get to the show and he walks out on stage, I'm like, not so impressive. It's still good enough to beat everybody. But like you said, I'd love to see him as an Open. I think he'd be a force to be reckoned with. Huh? All right, moving on.
Well, I was at the don't forget, I was at the 2011 Mr. Europe, the one in Madrid for MD, and also the 2011 Arnold Europe when Flex did the Open. And I think he beat Tony Freeman, who was kind of at his peak around then. He beat Hidetada, and I think he got third, or he got third. He got third in Mr. Europe, and I think he got fourth, if I remember correctly. He got fourth in the Arnold Europe, which was, you had like Dexter and Martinez. So, you know, even then he could hold his own as an Open. And to be honest, he was kind of getting ready for the Olympia. So he was probably 215 max. And imagine now he's about, you know, with another 10 pounds of muscle on him, he would look insane. And I think maybe it's at the point now where it is a bit of an anticlimax, because let's face it, everyone's fighting for second place. I just don't, that's how I see it. I don't know whether everybody else feels like that. Yeah. But how do you feel, Ron? Do you think it's just a bit of an anticlimax now with Flex just winning the 212 every year?
Yeah, I mean, who's going to beat him at this point? You know, Ashkenani, his legs are still nowhere where they would need to be to beat Flex Lewis. You know, his upper body's on par with Flex, but the lower body not remotely. You know, Jose, very good, but Jose hasn't beaten Flex in many years now, and I don't see it happening from this point forward. So yeah, I mean, he's got 6 titles now. You think maybe it's time to move on, do the Open. I mean, if Bonac is doing this well, I think Flex could be at least as good as Bonac, if not better.
Yeah, I think Bonac's a really good example for the argument for Flex moving up to the Open. Is he really testing himself now? I mean, the thing is, Flex is still, what, is he 33, 34 years old?
Yeah, something like that.
So, you know, you got Dexter like 48. I mean, you know, he could still go up and move up into the Open and probably win. I mean, I don't know. We've never seen Flex at his all-time best on stage because he's restricted by the 212. So maybe if he went up to 225, he'd be like Bonac, making top 3 in the Open Olympia. Maybe pushing. Imagine if he beat Phil Heath. I mean, God, I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, the knock was people were saying, you know, he'd have no chance because he's too short. He's this and that. I mean, he's the same exact height as Bonac, I believe. 5'5" or so.
He's what, 5'5", isn't he?
Yeah. So
the thing is, people go on about Bonac, but I mean, Dexter's what, an inch taller?
If that, 5'6" on a good day.
You know?
Yeah.
People just, exactly, yeah. But I mean, it's people go on about height so much, and it's you know, I mean, I know things have changed, but guys like Lee Labrada, Sean Ray, these guys are only 5'6", 5'7". How tall's Branch? I mean, Branch is only little, isn't he?
He's 5.
You know, and he was, you know, 5'6", he got. 5'7",
yeah.
Sorry.
5'6", 5'7".
Yeah.
Maybe some cowboy boots on. I don't know.
I think as long as they keep the small waist and they keep the aesthetics, you know, and I've known Neil for like 23 years, and he's sensible. He's not one of these guys who kind of ruins physiques. Do you know what I mean? He's one of these guys that really knows how to, you know, keep that quality even as they get bigger. He's a very intelligent prepper, you know. I mean, so yeah. I think maybe it is time maybe for Flex to move up. I think there's an argument. In fact, I might message him later and bully him.
Yeah, because I mean, the argument, you look at what he did with Bonac. I mean, a lot of people say, well, if a 212 guy tries to move up to Open and put that size on, he's going to lose the quality, he's going to blow out his gut. And Bonac is much better their muscle quality. He was probably the most conditioned man on that Olympia stage. And he didn't have a gut, you know,
what was he?
compared to some guys.
What is he? He's like that with Ramy at 305.
Yeah.
And what is Bonac? I mean, he can't be more than 230. He can't be more than 225, 230 max. If he was 212 back in 2012, I can't see him being 225. And at the end of the day, it's an illusion. You know what? And if you keep that, he's got that separation. He's got that quality. He's got that. And and like I keep saying, Flex. Neil's told me, you want to see Flex at 225. He said it will blow your mind. He does not lose any quality. His waist looks smaller because he's so much fuller. So maybe it's time for him to move up. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. So, aside from the actual event happening, the big news was the rift between the International Federation of Bodybuilders, which is helmed by Rafael Santoja in Spain, and the IFBB Pro League and NPC, which is Jim Mannion's which are Jim's organizations. So they're basically splitting up. Now we're wondering what was going to happen, but we have this Arnold Europe coming up in a couple days, which is, I don't know how this is going to work, because they've got the Olympia Amateur, which is an IFBB amateur event, and they're in Spain, which is Rafael's home country. So he's going to be in charge of that. And then you have the professional shows, which are IFBB Pro League, where Jim Mannion is obviously in charge of that. But they're going to have to be in basically the same place, same time, coexisting while, they've suspended each other. And there's, I don't know if this is going to end up going to international courts or how it's all going to be resolved. But, what do you think is going to happen this weekend with these two organizations having to be in the same place in the same venue, same time?
Well, so far I've kind of deliberately stepped away from it. I mean, I had Bob Ciccarello, Bob Chick came and joined me he had a coffee with me at breakfast the other morning, and I heard his side about what he wants to do with the UK shows and wants to do. And it's obviously at the moment it's all very kind of volatile. It's all very, there's a lot of kind of venom on both sides. We're suspending So I've deliberately kind of stepped away, and I've almost kind of not responded to all the people asking me, and I've not posted on any of the threads. But I do believe right now they are going to honour the IFBB Pro cards this week. Same as the UKBFF British Championships. I heard today, I read today on Facebook, I'm not sure if that's 100% true, that they are going to honour the Pro cards for the people who have been prepping, thinking that they're going to get a Pro card. They've not pulled that rug from under them, which I think is good. But to be honest, I honestly don't know. I don't think anything's set in stone right now. I think it's going to take at least a couple of weeks before the smoke clears, before we actually find out what's going on.
Yeah.
I'll do some sleuthing this weekend. I'll kind of get a feel. I'll speak to both sides to get an accurate, because it's not a question of anyone taking sides or who, because I think that was the problem before with some of the federations, and especially in the UK. It's all like, what side are you on? And I always tell everyone, look, I'm here for bodybuilding. I'm here for the athletes, for promoting the athletes. I couldn't give a shit about being on a side. I'm just on the side of what I think is best for athletes. So at the moment, I'm kind of like hanging back a little bit, because you don't know which way the cards are going to fall. So, but I'm sure. Because me and Rosie, we fly to Barcelona in the morning, so I'm pretty sure I'll find out a bit more, and maybe I can come back on and give the facts. Because right now I don't want to give opinion, I want to give facts, because there's mud being slung, and I've got great respect for the IFBB and the Pro League. What Jim Mannion's done, and obviously Raphael. I've always had a great relationship with Raphael. He's always been very gracious to me. So we'll just see what happens. I just hope it's done amicably and it's done for the good of the athletes.
Yeah. Okay. So, we have this Arnold Europe coming up, and we thank you and Rosie so much for taking on, especially, I know you got to be you're probably just getting over the Vegas coverage. I know you had like a 22 hour, 28 hour something, experience getting over to Vegas in the first place. Things didn't go smoothly with the flights. So, and barely, you didn't sleep a whole lot this weekend.
Trying to avoid the hurricane coming in. That was the worst thing. I had to go to Paris, then Minneapolis, but I was so fresh when I got there because I just got plenty of sleep and water. But when I got back, honestly, I stumbled through the door because Rosie picked me up at the airport, and I was having a fever. I was sweating. I was my blood sugar was up. I was having nosebleeds on the plane. I thought, oh no, I'm not going to be well enough. But I literally went straight to bed, took a sleeping tablet to reset my body clock, woke up in the morning full of energy again. So yeah, we're ready for this, mate. We're ready.
Okay. So this is not your first time covering the Arnold Europe for MD. You actually did it back in 2011 with Flex Wheeler?
Yep, the very first one.
Yeah. So how did that, what was that like working with Flex, covering the show back then?
It was fantastic. It was so good to see him when you interviewed him at the expo the other day. It's so good. And when I interviewed Stan Efferding, I honestly didn't realize fully what Flex had gone through and what he'd done for this prep and the real benefits. I mean, guys, watch that Stan Efferding interview I did at the expo. It's on the website now, and you really will get a feel for what Flex went through and what he achieved. Because Ronnie Coleman, who I also interviewed, such a name dropper, and he was. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You did a great job.
My mate Ronnie Flex. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So yeah, obviously the first Arnold Europe was the first Arnold that Arnold did outside of the USA, because up to that point it was just the American one. Now we have Arnold Asia, we have the Arnold Brazil, we have I don't know, we'll have Arnold Wales maybe next week. I don't know. Arnold Yorkshire maybe.
Australia, South
Put one on in my garden.
Yeah, they're everywhere. But anyway, that was the very first Arnold outside the US.
Yeah, it was the first one, and they've moved it from Madrid now to Barcelona because it's grown exponentially every single year. I mean, even after the first year, it looked like, because obviously the amateur shows are so big now. I mean, Rosie's got a couple of clients in the amateur show, the Amateur Arnold this week, and it's like over 3 days. I mean, it's brutal. Yeah, I was working with Flex, and yeah, it was funny because at the night show, obviously I was doing the play-by-play for Flex. And we had to be sat together. And one of the organisers, I forget his name, the guy with the ponytail, he said, "Guys, I'm sorry, I can't sit you together. We're two." And he says, "We've got no seats." And then right at the last minute, he says, "Right, I've got 2 seats right down the front," and there was 8 vacant seats. and he says, "Look, guys," he says, "these seats are for him. And when he comes out, you guys will have to move." And obviously, he obviously meant Arnold. Oh. So basically, they sat me and Flex Wheeler in the 2 seats, like these 8 vacant seats. And then I'm tapping away doing the, Victor Martinez. That's the one he won. Remember when he got caught when he, with customs. Yeah, that was another run for bad luck for poor Victor. Yeah. And so I'm typing away, and then Rafael Santoka, the IFBB president, comes over, kneels down, and he says, "Excuse me, gentlemen, you will have to move now." And then I kind of winked at him, because Flex was on my right side, and I winked at Rafael, and I says, "I ain't moving." And you should have seen Flex's face. Flex went, "Oh, man, you can't do that. You can't say that." I went, "Flex, I'm joking, mate." And he went, "Oh." And then me and Raphael were like laughing our heads off. It was so funny. And then obviously Arnold came out, and they moved us like 2 seats to the right. And it's funny, you're trying to do a play-by-play, you're trying to type for Flex, and Arnold sat right next to you. And he came out with his son Patrick, and I think he was his nephew, and some other friends of his, and obviously he was surrounded by his security. And and there was another funny story about Arnold, is when Clarence de Vie was posing. Remember, the Belgian pro? He was Yeah, he kind of looks like, they call him the Belgian Predator. He thinks he looks like Kai Green. Yeah. So it was... he was on stage, and then his music stopped, and he kind of crouched down on the stage. And then, pardon my French, but the music just went, this voiceover went, "Fuck you, motherfucker!" And he jumped in the air, did the box splits. Flex, everyone just gasped. Everyone just went, because obviously you're not allowed swearing in your music. It's a real no-no, especially in the UK. They will stop your music if you have... Yeah, they're really strict on it, and I think that's good, because, family shows and everything. And anyway, so everyone's like, Flex is like, "Man, he'll be suspended. That's terrible. They'll ban him." I looked over, and Arnold's going, "Yeah." He loved it. Arnold was just going, "Yeah." It was so funny. And then one final story, so I'll wrap it up, don't worry. I was doing the wrap-up with Flex Wheeler, and it took 3 takes. Normally I do everything in 1 take, but I'll tell you what happened with the first take. We did a fantastic, it was okay, I can't remember, it was an 8 to 10 minute wrap up. We went through everything in fine detail. And then, my girlfriend at the time, she was helping me do the recording. At the end of it, she went, "Guys, I don't think I pressed record."
That sounds like something I would do.
And I just went, Flex, could you just hold the microphone, please? And he went, oh, guys, you're not going to have a domestic hire. I says, Flex, I thought I'll be British about this. I'll be very stiff upper lip and very kind of composed. I said, Flex, just hold that. And I just walked out the back. And I went through these glass doors. And I just went out and I went fucking nuts. Just went, I was like, literally, I was doing ninja kicks. I was fighting invisible ninjas. I put this on Facebook once. I just went absolutely, got all the rage out, took a breath, walked back in, got the microphone off Flex, and we did it. We did a perfect take.
Because you're a pro. That's why.
I was just like, literally, I was melting. I was going, yeah. And then that was the time also, actually, that was a third take, because the second take, I actually stopped the video because Flex said something that shocked me so much, it kind of completely threw me. It was about the, do you remember there was a big thread on MD? It was the bikini. Back then, they only had 2 classes for bikini because it'd only been going, what, a year? Yeah. And the girl that won, she was from Argentina. She was very pretty. She remember she had like really like almost like a cat-like eye. She was really pretty, dark hair, lovely body. She was actually quite muscular, like quads, and she had good abs. And then we were kind of just Flex wanted to talk about the amateur, so I said, oh, we kind of we started talking. And he said, oh, you know that girl that won the bikini, the Argentina girl? I said, oh yeah, she was fantastic. He said she was 14 years old. Oh. And I was just like, what? And it shocked me so much. I was like, whoa. I mean, I don't even. When did she start training? If she had to, she was. What? I mean, what? She has been training for at least a couple of years. When she was 12, 11, and this was when back down with the bikini. This was before they stopped all the really sticking the arse out. It was because it started off and it was a little bit too sexualized. And I think the IFBB quite rightly said, no, this is none of this sticking your arse out. And it was all very. I won't do it. I'll do I'll do it if you want me to.
No.
yeah. I'll get my bikini on. And and after that there was a huge thread on MD that ran for like a month. And after that, the NPC raised the minimum age of bikini to 16. So it was obviously there was a real issue. But anyway, that's my stories about the Arnold Europe.
I want to comment on that very briefly because I remember everyone was like, well, this is like, I hate to use the word pedophilia, but we're here staring at a 14-year-old girl strutting around in a little tiny bikini.
Yeah,
not only that, but to me, her turning pro at age 14, to me, that exemplified how bikini is such a lower standard of achievement compared to something like bodybuilding, because there's no 14-year-old pro bodybuilders. There never have been, never will be. It's impossible. It takes years to build that physique. So like you said, 14 years old. When did this girl start training? When she was like 3? Come on. I mean,
Ron, listen, I'll be honest, right? I don't like the way the bikini's gone, the pro bikini. I've completely lost interest this year in the pro bikini because I used to follow it slightly. I like some of like Natalia Mello. I was really impressed by her, and certain, the top girls maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. I looked at it this year and I just thought I can see why they brought this wellness class in, because the girls are so skinny. It's all about glutes and they had ribs showing. I don't like the way bikini's gone. It's like no muscularity at all. I can't tell the top 3 Olympia girls from a local qualifier. Top 3, to me there's no difference. So I like to see a bit of muscle, a bit of body fat, and I like to see that there's a trained body, not just some skinny girl that's stuck a bikini on and gone on stage. So this my point is, this girl, she had like separation in her quads, she had abs, you could see she trained. So that was an extra shock for me. It was unbelievable. I mean, but quite rightly, the NPC responded and they raised the minimum age for competitive girls to be 16, and I really respect them for that.
Good call. That was a good call. All right, we need to talk about this Arnold Europe, because this is the first show after Olympia, and it's a lot of the same guys from the Olympia lineup are there, minus Phil Heath. Now, why wouldn't Phil go over there and pick up another check? You have to wonder. What do you think?
Well, I mean, he has done it a couple of times, and there was many people that said that Kai enough proved enough to beat him. I don't know. It's like Dorian. We used to, back in the 90s, we didn't have these Arnold Europes. We had these. We used to have the Grand Prix tours, and they would have over, say, 6 weeks, probably 6 to 8. Spain, France, Germany, UK. They used to have all these Grand Prix tours, and now it's all turned into the the Q8 Classic, the Arnold, the Prague, the Korea. So they're kind of all dotted over. And sometimes you have 2 in a weekend. I forgot my point now. What was it?
Why doesn't Dorian used to only do the British Grand Prix? typically.
That's my point. He used to do it. He used to do it every other year. So Phil, I think this is the problem. They've raised the prize money in Olympia so much to 400,000. I mean, I spoke to Dan Solomon. I had breakfast with him today, and I said, Dan, why is the prize money for the 212 in the Open so different? I said, Lex Lewis gets 40,000 first prize at Olympia. Phil Heath gets 400,000. I don't know.
Did Phil work 10 times as hard as Flex?
You know, the 212, and to be honest, in some ways, the 212 has had more kind of interest because it's less predictable than the Open. So I think they really need to address that, because when a bikini pro, no disrespect for bikini girls, but when a bikini pro is kind of getting the same sort of money that, say, like Jose Raymond is, or, you know, Lex Lewis, to me, that tells me there's something wrong. But anyway, so my point is, I don't know why Phil doesn't do it. But the thing is, if he's getting
he made so much money from the Olympia, he doesn't need it. He got $400,000.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, precisely.
What's another? I don't even know what the first prize for this one is. Do you?
I don't know. It's usually pretty good, though. I mean, I think it's probably between six. Well, thing is, it's probably the first prize of this hasn't gone up that much, because over the last 4 or 5 years, or since it started in 2011, because there's so many more classes, so the prize money gets kind of divided between all the classes. So it's probably maybe 60,000. I mean, I doubt it's changed. I doubt it's changed.
Which is not that much of an motivation for Phil, because he's been all over social media telling about how much money he has now. But let's move on to obviously. Yeah, I know the video was disgusting, but I know it's hard to like the guy sometimes. I met him, and I have nothing personal against him, but videos like that they turn my stomach.
I mean, I'll say this briefly. I've spent a little bit of time with Phil. Jay Cutler invited me over to have dinner with him at FIBA once, and I had this kind of preconceived notion about him. And I tell you what, I spent probably a couple of hours with him. And if I'd known nothing about him, I would have thought, what a lovely guy. And I know two friends of his. One of his friends from college, and one of his closest friends, Big Chris. And you kind of get to know Phil through them. And you know, these are good guys. People like Lex Lewis. Lex Lewis wouldn't be friends with idiots, you know, and speak highly of him. And it's just, I don't know what he's playing at. It's like he's just, maybe he's depressed or something, but I feel for him, because he doesn't look happy up there. He looks he comes off as insecure. And there's the Mr. Olympia who's doing videos straight after he's won, but addressing the haters rather than spending time with his family and friends. I don't like to see people booing Mr. Olympia. It's not right. It's not right. Anyway, let's get back to the Arnold Europe.
Yeah, so the Arnold Europe is coming up, and obviously the favorite has to be Big Ramy. Because you're looking, he just beat everybody else that's in the show, with the exception of a couple pros that weren't there, that aren't quite at the level of the top 10 Mr. Olympia. So I'm just gonna read the lineup, and then we can touch on each guy. So we had Big Ramy, Sean Roden, William Bonac, Jocelyn Ardowitz, Rolly Winkler, Lionel Baiki, Manuel Cañadillas from Spain, Michael Lockett, Jimmy Atienza from Spain, Fred Smalls, Victor Martinez, Gerald Williams, Peter Klankier from Croatia,
Big dude.
Oljednizek from Poland. Sorry if I'm missing. Mauro Pulido from Venezuela, and Johnny Jackson. So the favorites have to be the guys that were in the top 5, top 60 Olympia. Do you see this as an easy win for Ramy?
No, I don't. Josh is out. Because remember when we interviewed Josh at the Expo, at the Meet the Olympians, I said, look, because when I interviewed him in Tampa, he said, oh yeah, I'm committed to do all the post-Olympia shows. But obviously what happened with Dallas, I think the Olympia was just enough, you know, for him. He said, I just want to get home. He said, I've been out in LA training, not LA, Florida. I've been at Florida, you know, with, you know, they were all Flex, Dallas, and Josh were there. He said, to be honest, he said, this Olympia is enough for me. It's probably been very hard for him to do what he did, and that's a huge respect to him. But but I've heard that. But he said in that interview, he said, yeah, he says, no, I'm doing the Olympia, and then I'm going home. He said, I just need to get home to my family, and you know, kind of probably hasn't had time to properly process everything. So he's out. So I'll be honest, I think it's going to be a three-way tie between, not tied, but it's going to be a three-way race between Bonac, Rolly, and Ramy. I don't see anyone coming close to those top three. I would love to see Bieki tighten it up and kind of really move up. You know, like some of these guys, They really, I mean, Bieki was disaster. I don't even remember him from the Olympia, you know?
And it's a shame because if that guy was in condition all over, glutes, hams, everything, he could be pushing for the Mr. Olympia title. I think he's that good.
Yeah, he's top. I mean, he could have been. He's top 6 Olympia. I mean, he's top 6 Olympia. I mean, as he is, just his physique, he just needs. It's like Cedric. He just needs to nail it.
Yeah.
You know, it's So maybe sometimes these guys fade, sometimes they come in better. I mean, when Ronnie, that 97 year, he kind of came through, he kind of got, you know, he kind of really stayed on his diet. And I've been at the Grand Prix when Paul Dillette and all these guys have eaten cheeseburgers, and, you know, Ronnie was in the corner eating his chicken and rice, and he was really like focused on kind of pulling ahead because he knows that the guys weaken as they go along. I've seen Kevin Abrone drinking beer and wine and, you know, and vodka and coffee and everything, and it's, you know, so if Bieki really has it in him, he could potentially, you know, he got home nice and quick, and he could dry out, and, you know, he could sneak into that top 5, top 3 maybe. He could maybe pull ahead of someone like, you know, but you don't know. You don't know how much other guys have faded and how much he could improve.
You know, there's another factor I always wondered if it had an impact is you have the Olympia judging panel that was over in Las Vegas, and now we're in Spain. It's not all the same judges, and this is a subjective sport. Different judges are going to have slightly different opinions, so, you know, where Rolly got beat by a few of these guys, maybe Rolly could get past them just on the basis of these judges over in Europe, a couple of them having a different set of, you know, what they like to see, what they consider the ideal.
100%.
I thought Rolly looked phenomenal at the Olympia.
Rolly, I mean, for me, I mean, I really like Rami now. Like I said, he's really made a fan out of me this year because just the way that guy just keeps improving, keeps his waist nice and tight. But Rolly, for me, he's the one that, I mean, made me laugh because Steve Blackman was sat next to us. Obviously, we were together for the show, and when Rolly first came out and that silhouette was behind him, and Steve took his glasses and went, "Holy mackerel!" I was like, "Oh, that was one of the highlights." That was hilarious. But it was like I mean, Rolly, I'm a huge Rolly fan. I mean, I was, my first assignment for MD was in 2011 when my first video assignment, and Steve sent me over to, obviously when he was in Rotterdam with Sybil, with Grandma, and that was a memorable trip, that was. Remember when, sorry, quick story here, Rolly picked me up from the airport, he drove all the way, and it was funny because as soon as he arrived, he said, "Can I have a picture with you?" Yeah, and he had a photographer, and I was like, "Really?" I went, "Yeah, I think he appreciated the fact that someone had come all that way at the early stages of his career to kind of, you know, promote him. You know, I was there doing videos and yeah, then we walked out to the car park, and then I got this huge waft of like weed from, I mean, it's Schiphol Airport, it's bloody Amsterdam, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
they're not breaking the law.
And you know, Rolly, he's very, very kind of like, he can look very stern sometimes. And he just looked at me, sort of smiled, and he says, "Welcome to Amsterdam." But
I gotta get over there one of these days.
No, you gotta come over, mate. It's fantastic.
So what about like Roden? Do you think Roden is going to do as well over there, or do you think he was kind of gifted and favored at the Olympia?
Do you know what it was? I was very heavily critical of Roden on the Friday. I pretty much wrote the guy off, but I'm impressed how he came back on the Saturday. I mean, that stomach, it was 80% flatter, kind of filled out, and it was more like the Sean Roden that I love, because I love that guy's physique. But I don't know. I kind of disengaged from Roden by the time. But the Saturday, I was like, yeah. I still don't think he should have been 5th. I mean, I would have had him 2 or 3 spots lower purely because of that stomach on the first day. That needs to be. Those guys need to be penalised for that. But Roden, theoretically, Roden always kind of does get it together. He kind of tightens up on these, and especially after getting knocked down from 2nd last year to 5th at the Olympia this year, maybe he's got like really determined to kind of pull ahead, and he's really on it, you know. But I would love to see that. I would love to see it. I'd love to see him, you know, those 4 or 5 guys neck and neck. I would love to see that. Right, okay, this is not clear cut. This could go to anyone, you know. But yeah. So.
And you know, what about Victor? Is someone who's won that show before. He was, you know, from the back, especially glutes and hams, was really soft. You know, how much do you think he can improve or pull that together in 1 week's time?
Well, I was actually quite impressed with Victor, because remember we were sat next to each other, and his legs looked a bit, I don't know if he was flat or whether they're just atrophied, or...
Yeah, they're not what they used to be. Yeah.
But his upper body, for me, looked as good as it's ever looked.
Right.
I thought, yeah, we were all three of us. Remember, you, me, and Steve, we were like, yeah, Victor, we didn't kind of expect that. He looked really good. I'd have had no arguments with it. I think it was the legs, though. If his legs had just been that bit fuller. I don't know, maybe sometimes I've had it after I've done a contest, 2 weeks after, and your legs kind of fill out, you know, because you haven't trained them and you're off training. And, I don't know, I really don't know. I mean, he probably will fall into the top 6 possibly, but I mean, his condition was good. His condition was good. It wasn't a bad showing for Victor at all. I mean, I know he didn't even come back for the finals, but maybe
that was a controversy. Supposedly he was told he didn't have to, and then he didn't come back, and they disqualified him.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I heard. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you never know, do you? Maybe he just sort of went for a burger or something. You don't know.
So, out of these other guys, who do you think has a shot to possibly break in? Would it be maybe Michael Lockett or maybe this Peter Clankier?
Clancy. That guy is a freaking beast. I tell you what, we need to see. I need to see more of this guy because I remember putting him in one of my columns 3-4 years ago, and I'm telling you that he's only in his 20s. The guy is a freak, and he's got a nice shape. And I don't think he's really been. He's not really done any high-profile shows yet. But from what I've seen from pictures and everything, I'm really excited to see him because there's a guy that. You know, you get a lot of these big guys that have got blocky waists and they've got bits missing, or you know. But Clancy is someone that could maybe pull ahead of someone like Victor Martinez, or a bigger, what you would term as a bigger name, and for, like Biecki or Max Charles. Who these people are ones who've won pro shows. So someone like Peter Clancy. I'm very interested to see because that guy he's like Bonac. He's one of these guys that just will keep improving. And he's big. He won't look out of place next to Rami. I'm telling you that now, size-wise. He is a big kid, and I'd like to see him get more exposure.
So we have not only Tiger covering the show for us, one half of the duo, but Tiger and Rascal. Rosie will be joining you. So how are you guys going to divide up the coverage between you two?
Well, we'll just, I mean, I haven't even looked at the classes yet for the show, but we've got 2 seats next to each other, obviously. We're going to basically do what Tiger and Ronster did. I was hashtagging Tiger and Ronster on my Facebook post.
Yeah, now it's Tiger
at the Olympia. Yeah, just Tiger and Rascal. We're just going to share the work, because Rosie's got a good eye. She preps people. She's got experience. She's got, I need someone there. It's like when you're doing previews. I hate doing, like, they see previews like this. This is so much better with you and me on Skype rather than me talking into a camera in my garden about a show that hasn't happened yet. It's all, it's better for us to back and forth like this, much better. So, so I need Rosie there. She can do, we're going to go to the expo. We're going to divide up the interviews like you and me did on the weekend. She's done it before. We did some interviews at the British Finals a couple of years ago, and I literally just stuck the mic in her hand and didn't give her any sort of prompting. And she's good, she's a superstar. She talks well. She knows her stuff, So, is she?
Talking about you.
Talking to the devil. Yeah. So she wants to do a conference call though with Steve and Jen and everyone because it's very important because she wants to know whether she needs to wash her hair tonight or tomorrow.
Very important to know. Okay.
Yeah. It's been a real hot touch. She's been following me around the kitchen saying, "Do you think I should wash my hair today or tomorrow?" I'm like, "Oh God."
I think you should wash your hair.
Yeah, I wash my
It's pretty scruffy looking. So we got a big show coming up. I appreciate you guys taking on the challenge, especially you because you just did it. Then you're going to. Is Rosie also going with you to Prague the following weekend after that?
Yeah. We're taking my friend Big George as well, a Czech friend, so he's a big Czech guy, he's huge. So we're taking him as well. So he's going to do some videos of me and Rosie. So it's all about, at the end of the day, how much content you and me got on the weekend. We've got a ton of content. And I'm ready for it. I love all this stuff,
I'm very, very grateful that you guys are doing this for us. You guys are going to kill it. I know you're going to kill it.
Yeah, no problem at all. We've got everything set up, everything's ready. We've flights were booked yesterday, so we're ready to go. So it's all good.
All right, well, I'm gonna let you go for now because I'm sure you're preparing for another long, brutal trip. So I've
got legs to do tonight.
Yeah, you're a busy dude. So looking forward to the coverage. Everybody, make sure you tune in this weekend. Arnold Europe coverage brought to you by High Tech Pharmaceuticals. with Giles, Tiger Thomas, and Rosie Rascal Hart. So for the Ronline Report, this has been Ron Harris with his buddy, the Tiger.